Shooters. Once the kings of gaming, at the forefront of every graphical innovation and the first word on the pre-production document of every studio with a few million to spend. Since the arms race waged by Quake, Unreal, Half-Life and Call of Duty ushered in a golden age of especially violent storytelling in 3D environments, the industry diversified its portfolio and found massive audiences elsewhere. For a while, the chambers were empty and the red barrels went unexploded. Then FPS games found a second life, as competitive online arenas, experimental storytelling vessels, survival sims, and even conduits for nostalgia. As we look at 2022, we can see that the definition's broader than ever, and that even though we've somehow still got new 3D Realms shooters popping up, there's plenty of life in the OL faithful FPS. 1. Scorn, release date, TBC 2022. It was 7 years ago now that Scorn first showed us its HR. Geiger-inspired landscapes. Or as the game's own Steam page puts it, a nightmarish universe of odd forms and somber tapestry. And while that does at first sound like any branch of Hooters, its gameplay reveals a first-person horror with a focus on exploration. Developer EB Software wants you to feel thrown into a strange new space without explanation, to which its original title Dossier, being there in German, attests. Biomechanical matter all around, unidentified life forms clawing at you, and not even a bit of narrative exposition to help you out. Thanks a bunch, Scorn. Really though, we can't wait. 2. Graven, release date, TBC 2022. Some people call them boomer shooters, but the retro revival of linear FPS games spearheaded by 3D Realms is for anyone with a twitchy left mouse button finger. Graven's visuals evoke the Voodoo 2 days of early 3D gaming, and there's a touch of 90s shooters Hexen and Heretic to all those robes, candles, and spellbooks. What's promised in gameplay terms isn't niche nostalgia, though there's a pace and purity to the fight that the AAA shooters drifted away from through the 2010s. And to play Graven's shareware-style early access episode is to realize how sorely you've missed that zippy, straightforward gunplay. 3. Exomica, release date, Spring 2022. Not 1 second passes in Exomica's reveal trailer without bullets being fired or something exploding, and that gives some measure of what new developer Twistedred is out to achieve. Exclusive to Xbox Series X/S and PC, the proposition here is a free-to-play multiplayer shooter with a futuristic bent. There's more than a touch of crisis to what it's shown so far. Shoot things on beach, punch people in futuristic muscle suits on beach, drive jeeps in same aforementioned environment. Then the mechs turn up, and all bets are off. These things swallow the sky with their scale, and their melee combat bouts look good enough to forget about your KD for a minute and just take in the spectacle. 4. Rainbow Six Extraction, release date, January 20th, 2022. Until now, the Tom Clancy's prefix was a byword for real-world combat operations performed with incredible levels of bureaucracy, but that all changes in 2022 when Rainbow Six Extraction and its parasitic alien enemies arrive. That's right. Aliens. We don't remember any extraterrestrials with glowing heads in the sum of all fears. Then again, we never read it and in fact just Google Tom Clancy books to finish this joke, so fair enough. As a team of 3, you infiltrate procedurally mapped levels and secure samples of alien goo, taking out different breeds of your fanciful enemy in typical tactical Rainbow Six fashion, leaning around corners, throwing drones out, saying clear every few seconds, then exfiltrate with the intel. Should be a fun co-op framework to experience Siege's excellent gunplay and destructible environments in, and it's out in January. 5. Dying Light 2, release date, February 4th, 2022. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light, wrote Dylan Thomas in the official strategy guide for Dying Light. It's good advice here too, since the world's still very much infested with walking cadavers 20 years after the events of the first game. This time new protagonist Aiden has an open world 4 times bigger than the last to explore and do cool vaults across, whispering parkour to himself as he goes. Factions are key to survival now, with the city split into 7 districts each ruled by a different group. Developer Techland promises hard-hitting consequences for your choice of allegiances, and a visible impact on the game world. No pressure then. It's a little unclear at the minute how much guns, a key component of the FPS genre, will feature, since Techland says the game doesn't have any, but it has a craftable shotgun. We're going to go with it does have guns because a shotgun is a gun camp. 6. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, release date, April 28, 2022. Stalker is less a series of games telling a canonical tale, and more multiple attempts at the same endeavor, capturing the horror, haunting beauty, and the warring factions that all inhabit the radioactive Ukrainian wasteland after a second human disaster occurred in Chernobyl in 2006. To some degree, then, we know what to expect from Stalker 2, actually the 4th in the series. There'll be campfires and guitar strum-alongs. Anomalies. Desperate standoffs with gas-masked thugs in rusty industrial buildings, and mutated forms who think your face looks delicious. But we'll also get a new bar for visual fidelity, the game making full use of Unreal Engine 5 and harnessing it to paint the Ukrainian wilderness with real atmosphere. This isn't one to enjoy 20 minutes at a time. You'll want to take a few days off work in April. 7. Redfall, release date, summer 2022. At this point, Arcane could post a reveal trailer of pure static noise and call its new game Stepping on Lego Simulator, and we'd at least consider the pre-order. That's the kind of goodwill a release history comprising Deathloop, Prey and the Dishonored games gets you. Fortunately for us all, Redfall sets its sights considerably higher. Life on the titular coastal towns become a bit of a bummer since vampires took over, pushed the tide back and plunged it into eternal darkness. Vampires will do that, of course. That's why you and your team need to fight them off, using a characteristic mix of weapons and supernatural abilities in solo or co-op play. The biggest departure for Redfall is its open-world structure, but Arcane's keen to bring that knack for linear, structured experiences and translate it successfully. 8. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, release date, March 25, 2022. A Borderlands spin-off that leans in hard on the most boisterous and breezy moments of the mainline games, as you'll be able to tell from the judicious use of baby metal in the Tiny Tina's Wonderlands reveal trailer. For the uninitiated, Tiny Tina stole the show in Borderlands 2's best DLC, Assault on Dragon Keep. The world transformed before you drastically as Tina improvised sweeping changes in her role as Dungeon Master, and after 150 hours of shooting numbers out of badass skags, that's exactly the palate cleanser we all needed. We're expecting similar fourth wall smashing and eyebrow waggling from this feature-length installment, and judging by the loot solo in the aforementioned trailer, we're not far off. 9. Scorn Ritual, release date, summer 2022. 2020's Maid of Scorn found cult status with its genuinely quite upsetting grade horror based in a British hotel, and also with all the guns it gave you to shoot said upsetting things with. Scorn Ritual is its sequel, and with the foundations in Old English folklore already laid by developer Wales Interactive, this time the pace picks up a bit by virtue of its co-op survival FPS framework. The quiet ones have keen hearing. Ironic, isn't it? So this won't be a Left 4 Dead reskin, but something more considered and stealthy. The small Welsh studio has a real knack for bringing in talented creators, and with Soma and Battlefield 1 devs on the previous game's credits, our expectations are pitched skywards. 10. IGI Origins, release date, TBC 2022. You may or may not remember Project IGI, a 2000 shooter with an unusual stealth focus for the time, and a relish for attaching you to ziplines that's never been bettered. Thing is, IGI Origins kind of hopes you do remember, otherwise what's the point of that name? Set as a prequel to the original, Origins lets you loose on the Cold War circa 1980. Using your SAS and MI6 training, it's all on you to prevent an all-out conflict by undertaking what look like the least covered ops in military history. Ziplines are sure to rear their heads, and if you were wondering what I.G.I stood for, it's I'm going in. The year 2000, Ladies and gentlemen,